Hey, Shalom, Bawaqwar TaWab, Yasha Allah, Yabrakakam, Yahweh Bahasham, Hamashiach Yahushai. All right, you all be blessed in the name of the Most High and His only begotten Son. All right. Today's going to be kind of a short video. I just want to give a Shalom and a Bawaqwar to the Machpakah, to the families. All right, and to those that's up during this grand rising hour. All right, we're going to read the book of Psalms, chapter 30, real quick. All right. All right, we're going to read this book of Psalms, chapter 30, with it being the so-called 30th day of the so-called month. You know, we turn into Israelites and everything becomes so-called, right? All right. Also, I want to show everybody something. Okay, there's a website that you can use. Very extremely helpful website. Okay, and it's called Moon Giant. Okay, Moon Giant is very helpful for calculating the phase. Okay, the lunar phase. You know, and it's an important thing for us to know. Okay, it's a very important thing for us to know. How do we calculate the phases? Yes, we are using modern technology in the time frame of our forefathers. I'm pretty confident they had their own form of technology, you know, outside from just being able to go out and look at the moon without all the electronic pollution. Okay, so we're looking at new moon landing on the 4th, which will be the Shabbat. All right, so it'll be interesting because it'll be the Shabbat. And it'll be new moon, which means new moon is going to land on a high holy day. Excuse me, it's just Shabbat's going to land on a high holy day, which also means that on this Shabbat coming up, you'll be able to cook. Okay, so we know we don't cook on the Shabbat, but this Shabbat coming up, with it being a feast day, we would be able to cook on this one coming up. All right, so let me start a screen share real quick. And then we're going to go to Psalms chapter. Matter of fact, let's go to Psalms chapter 30 first. All right, Psalms chapter 30, and let's start our screen share. All right. Now remember, even if you're in motion, if you can't read the word, you can always listen to the word. Like me, I just absolutely love listening and learning about our history. So when I'm going throughout my day, I usually have my headphones on. And I'm listening to scriptures. Okay, so today's Psalms is Psalms chapter 30, verse 1. And if you can't listen, and if you can't again read it, you can put on your headphones and listen to the scriptures. I mean, it's so much more fulfilling. And don't you know your day will go faster too? Your day goes so much faster when you're listening to Flavius Josephus, when you're listening to Philo, when you're listening to Eusebius, when you're listening to Origins, you know, when you listen to Africanus. You know, these are different apostles that were after the major apostles who were masters at reciting our church history. Okay, so, you know, I don't understand, man, just not getting filled up with the word. Like, you know, it will definitely change your day. It'll change your life if you listen to the scriptures. All right, so let's get started real quick. We're going to start with the book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 1. All right, Psalms chapter 30, verse 1, and it reads, all right, Psalms chapter 30, verse 1. A psalm and song at the dedication of the house of Dawab. I will extol thee, O Yahweh, for thou hast lifted me up and hast made my foes rejoice over me. And this brings me to the thought of this time frame of Hanukkah, a Shar Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to everybody that's in Yasha Allah. All right, so a song of dedication. What I would encourage to everybody right now is to focus hard on 4th Maccabees. Study 4th Maccabees, and that's a feast of dedication scripture. You know, and I know a lot of Israelites, they teach about how the temple was dedicated back to Yahweh. We have to remember the atrocities and the tragedies that happened in order for us to understand why it was so important to have the temple back dedicated, you know. So understand that too. 4th Maccabees is a huge help on that. Eusebius book number 2 is a huge help on that. Second Maccabees chapter 6 and chapter 7 goes perfect with fourth Maccabees. So if you want to get your spirit in the right Hanukkah mentality, not just understanding the dedication, but understanding what happened during that time frame for the temple to be rededicated. Okay, this is a perfect time frame to learn about Caligula. Caligula's name was also called Caius. He was the mad emperor. All right, Caligula was the emperor that was in charge during the time frame that the temple was ransacked. Okay, when our temple was torn down, and the Gentile forces came in. Learn about Caligula. Learn about Second Maccabees chapter 6 and chapter 7. Learn about fourth Maccabees. Okay, and in the process of doing that, I'm telling you, your day will go so much faster, and you will be enlightened. You're definitely going to have an emotional mood swing. All right. So again, we say King David giving praise. All right. Let's start back at this. Okay. A thanksgiving for deliverance. You know, they're doing Thanksgiving. We're doing Thanksgiving for deliverance. Okay. Psalm chapter 30, verse 1. I will extol thee, O Yahweh, for thou hast lifted me up and hast made my foes to rejoice over me. O Yahweh, my Allahaya, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. All praise. We just had the National Day of Prayer. I know some of you may have watched and participated when the National Day of Prayer was over for me. What I did was, I went into personal prayer with Yahweh, and it was beautiful. And I encourage you all to continually stay in that same mentality. All this is lining up. Psalm chapter 30, verse 3. O Yahweh, thou hast brought up my soul from the grave. Thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Sing unto Yahweh, O ye saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. For his anger endureth but a moment, but in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And in my prosperity I said, I will never be moved. Yahweh, by thy favor, thou hast made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide thy face and was troubled, and I was troubled. I cried to thee, O Yahweh, and unto Yahweh I made supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee? Shall it declare thy truth? No. So this is why we praise Yahweh right now while we're alive. All right. This is why we give thanks to the Most High. Listen, if you don't know any good praise music, there's a wonderful soundtrack called Sounds of Sinai. You can't be afraid to listen to righteous gospel music. Okay. All right. So Sounds of Sinai is a wonderful praise album. One of them is in blue. One of them is in red. Okay. So, play music that gives rejoice back to Yahweh. There's other ones, but that's one I like specifically. All right. Psalm chapter 30, verse 10. Hear, O Yahweh, and have mercy upon me. Yahweh, be thou my helper. Thou hast turned for me, thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness. To the end of my glory, to the end that my glory may sing praise unto thee and not be silent. O Yahweh Allahayaka, I will give thanks unto thee forever. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All praise the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. All right, so Bawaqwar TaWab allowed this to be a day of praise. Let's get this real quick. Let's get SOUNDS. Oops, I'm not typing. Sounds of Sinai. There we go. If anybody needs some beautiful praise music, subscribe to this website right here. Okay. Sounds of Sinai. Well, topic. That's going to take you different places. Okay. Hold on. Let me see if this is it. Okay, this is the website. This is the actual YouTube page. Okay. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that we're coming out of the Snakes Giving time frame. The Roman Catholic Church knew exactly what they were doing when they started lining up these holidays. Okay. When the Roman Catholic Church started lining up these holidays, you know, you got brothers say Thanksgiving, you got some brothers say Snakes Giving, you know. All right. When they started lining up these holidays, they really did keep in mind and remember the Most High's holy days. Okay. So it's not a coincidence that the Feast of Dedication, all right, is falling within the same time frame of Snakes Giving. All right. It's not a coincidence that Psalm chapter 30 comes in the same time frame of the Snakes Giving. Okay. So these are the two albums. Okay. This one right here, Monotheism, and this one is called Sovereign. These are two amazing praise albums. All right. When you wake up in the morning, don't listen to the radio. Don't listen to the talk shows. All right. They ain't got nothing for you. They're not talking no life. They're not talking no wisdom. Okay. Listen to the scriptures. All right. Here, let me get this for you real quick. 4th Maccabees. You know what I could have did? I could have took this. Now, for any one of you who don't know, the book of 4th Maccabees was written by Flavius Josephus, all right, which we know Flavius Josephus to be a master historian. Now, you're going to find different versions of it. It should be around 1 hour, 9 minutes, 1 hour, 8 minutes. All right, this one is 2nd Maccabees, so we're going to get this one also. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if, yeah, I think I've heard this one. I think I've heard this one. I think this one is read by a woman, which is really cool. You know, she's got a nice reading voice, real subtle, real calm. All right. I'm going to get this link. And I'm going to send it to you. Oh, no. Okay, it's a man reading. It might even be a LibriVox recording. If it's a LibriVox recording, then you're in for a real treat. All right. So let me get this for you. I'm going to post this right here for you. All right. This is the book of 4th Maccabees. For those of you who don't know, well, you haven't heard of 4th Maccabees, it's okay. All right. 4th Maccabees is a legit book. It's not like the book of Enoch, which can't be proven yet. If the book of Enoch can be proven, I believe it'll be done in the process of time. Okay. It'll be done in time to where, you know, the Most High will reveal it. But right now, we only have it in the Ge'ez language, which was the language that the Ethiopians spoke. Okay. All right. So why is that a concern for me? Because, you know, the Most High tells us, learn not the ways of the heathens. I do know that the Ethiopians followed us. All right. I do know that the Ethiopians followed us. Okay. They rocked with us. They followed us. But I can't validate the book of Enoch. So since I can't validate it, since I've heard too many things that was contradictions in it, just for me personally, you know, I can't tell other Israelites safely and confidently that it's okay to teach or study out of. I mean, study out of is fine, you know, but to teach out of, you know, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't teach out of it. All right. Now, that's your personal preference. That's cool. No problem, because I like reading the book of Jasher, but not everybody likes the book of Jasher. So, but, you know, but let's see something real quick. This is look, I think that's Caesar Borgia right there looking dead at us, man. That's crazy. But forget the artwork right now. Let me see something real quick.
Chapters 6 through 10 of the second book of Maccabees, King James Version. Chapter 6.
Okay, I thought this was a LibriVox recording, but I don't think it is. All right, now again, this is just for your listening pleasure while you're out on the plantation, while you're doing whatever you do. Remember, the Feast of Dedication also is not a high holy day. It is a memorial day. It is a dedication day, okay? So it's a day to be remembered, but it's not a Leviticus chapter 23. It's not Leviticus chapter 26. 23, right? It's not a high holy day, okay? So so what we see is that during this time frame, you know, it's good to, while everybody is going over you know, the feast time frames, and oh yeah, we kept the feast, you know, that's good, but do you know why you kept it? Oh yeah, well, we kept it because we remember that the temple was rededicated to the Most High because of what happened during this time frame. All right. Yeah, kind of, I was going off 23. Yeah, Leviticus 20. Yeah. It's not a Leviticus chapter 23 commanded high holy day. All right. So with that being said, there were major atrocities that happened during this time frame. Okay, here, let me get this real quick for you. All right. Caligula. Now, everybody should learn about this right here. If you have the ability, watch this movie. This movie is utterly disgusting. I don't want to ruin your day or nothing, so I'm not going to play any clips from it. But this movie right here, everybody. Now, why do you want to learn this? You want to learn this because during this time frame of the Feast of Dedication, this was the emperor that was in rulership, okay? All right, so I'm telling you, I'm encouraging you, watch the movie Caligula. It was made by Penthouse or by Hustler, one of those pornographic production companies, because there's a lot of sex in it. There's a lot of illicit sex in it, all right? This is what the movie's going to look like. It has that British actor in it. He does some very bad things. And this was the emperor that was in rulership. Now, when you look at the scriptures, his name is going to be Caius. Okay. His name is going to be Caius. Okay. So learn as much as you can about Caligula during this time frame, the abominations that Caligula did. All right. Everybody knows what that is. Okay. All right. Once you learn about Caligula, you'll know why. Now, again, Caligula was the ruler that was in charge of the abominations of desolation that happened. Okay, let me give you let's do one more real quick. Let's get 2 Maccabees chapter 6, KJV, Blue Letter Bible. I don't think, oh, they don't have, okay. 2 Maccabees chapter 6. So 2 Maccabees chapter 6, now here's what I would encourage you to do. Learn this pattern, okay? When the Feast of Dedication comes, learn how to read history and study history of the Bible. That's why I believe that the teaching that Yahweh has encouraged me with, that's why I believe that they're safe, because I don't come out of the extra books that not only can't be validated, like I'll talk about Jasher, but I won't teach online out of Jasher. I'll talk about it, but I won't throw none of Jasher's, doctrines in while I'm actually edifying the people, because I care about if you're being taught correctly or if it's just going to make me look good. And that's what some of the brothers do, and I don't like it. I don't encourage it. I think it's real spiritually weak of them. So what I do is I like to show through the power of the Most High, by Shama Mashiach, it's not me, it's all him. I like to show how things line up with the Bible dealing with antiquities. All right. So I'll also help everybody with if anybody's looking for more of this information, I'll help you with it based off what the Most High has given me. There's another master historian whose name is Eusebius. And Eusebius, he tells the story of Mary. All right. Let me see. I can find it in my book, but I don't know if I can find it online. But check this out. This is what happened during the time frame of Caligula. All right. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 6. And as you do chapter 6, make sure you go into chapter 7. That's where we learn about the story of the mother and her 7 sons who are all brutally murdered in one day. And the elder that was before him, whose name was Eleazar, the true Eleazar, who lived and died and stood up for the laws. Not nobody calling themselves Eleazar today, because I haven't met any real Eleazars like the real Eleazars of back in the day, who again gave his life for the Torah. All right. He wasn't a Torah compromiser. He gave his life for it. Okay. So 2 Maccabees chapter 6, and it reads, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Hebrews, the Jews, the Israelites, Southern Kingdom Jews specifically, to do what? To depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of Allahiah. Here it goes. To pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus. Why is that important? Because this man right here, and I got to pull him back up again. I apologize. I went away from his image. Caligula, Caius. So again, when you look up his name in scriptures, it's going to say Caius, but Caius is actually Caligula. And that's a very tricky thing that was done in history. They went by 2 names. Okay. So Caligula, he was a madman. Okay. He was this dude was off of his rocker mad. Okay. So Caligula was the emperor that was in charge during the time frame of Second Maccabees. And when the scripture says in verse 2, and to pollute the temple in Jerusalem, so that's the holy temple that we worship the Most High in. You know, the reason why you're doing the temple of dedication, okay? Because Caligula, he is the one who said, okay, take here, let's read. To pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, watch this, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus. Why is this important? Because temple of Jupiter Olympus, Caligula called himself the brother of Jupiter. Caius called himself the brother of Olympus. Let me see if I can just type this up and see if anything comes up. Now, I'm just doing a random search just to see if anything comes up. But since I've read it in antiquities, since I've read it in history, I can show you. All right. Man, look at this. Villains. He's under the phrase of villains. All right. So, all right. So it says Emperor Caligula, madman or misunderstood. Nah, he was a madman. Look at this. Caligula, the embodiment of cruelty. Okay. So what he did was he called himself the son of Olympus, or the brother of Olympus. So he had statues of himself erected in Jerusalem. All right. He had statues of another city that we have called Gerizim. Okay. So we had a temple in Jerusalem, and we had another temple in a place called Gerizim. Jupiter, or Caius, the defender of Israelites. Does it say that? Does it say Jupiter, the defender of Hebrews? No, it says defender of strangers. So he made a temple. He had a temple built. No, he took our holy temple and he took out all of the holy things. They stole all of our gold and all of our silver. They took out all the menorahs, the table of showbread, the altar of incense. All right. They took everything out. And then they put in all of their defiled things and put in statue in the place of the Holy of Holies. And why did this happen? Because we forsook Yahushua. That's what it all comes back down to. So while you're learning how to have a feast, learn what we did wrong. We murdered Yahushua. We thought we murdered him. We only destroyed his flesh. We turned him over to the police. Okay, so keep that in mind while you're enjoying your feast of dedication, and while you're celebrating and being so proud to be a Jew, while you're being so proud to be an Israelite. Remember, the temple was only dedicated because it was destroyed because we killed the son of the most high living God, murdered him, turned him over to the police. And then while he was dying, we was like, aha, nanny, nanny, poo, poo. Now bring yourself down off the cross. Thought you was the Messiah. Thought, save yourself. You was talking about you was going to be our savior. Save yourself. That's the reason our temple was destroyed. And the Most High used the sickest race on the planet to do it. And Caligula comes from that race. So again, verse 2, and to pollute the temple in Jerusalem and to call it temple of Jupiter Olympus, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter. Again, every time it's saying Jupiter Olympus, this is Caius. This is Caius Caligula. Okay. Of Caligula, defender of the Gentiles, not defender of the Israelites. Caius, the defender of the this devil exalted himself and made himself into a god. So when we read today's psalm, which is Psalms chapter 30, we see it starts off as a psalm of praise and being rededicated to the Most High. Okay, to us being rededicated to the Most High. Yahushua Shalom. All right. So let's go back to this real quick. 2 Maccabees 6. All right. As they did desire that dwelt in that place. So they did whatever they wanted to. Look at this. The coming in this mischief was sore and very grievous to the people. All right. We were terribly destroyed emotionally, mentally, physically. Why? For the temple, the one that we're celebrating being dedicated now. Now watch this. That what we should be celebrating, everybody do it at your own pace. All right. I think a little bit differently. I don't mind a celebration and dedication. I love the idea of it, and I love the fact that we do it. But we also have to remember why, so we don't fall into it, so we don't do it again. All right. If anybody was celebrating Thanksgivings then they just, you know, did the same thing that the Gentiles did before. They celebrated our destruction. Then the Most High set our time frame up right after this to celebrate what? Our rededication to him. Okay. So it's not a coincidence that so-called Snakesgiving, Hanukkah, or dedication, you know, fell within the same time frame. Then we got Psalms chapter 30, you know, Barakatah. We got Psalms chapter 30, you know, picking up the same momentum, keeping the same momentum of keeping us in the mentality of prayer. All right, watch this. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by who? By the Gentiles. Which temple? The temple that we're dedicating, that we're, you know, hey, the temple is rededicated. Now remember, there is going to be a last temple, the final temple that's going to be built, and all nations are going to come and worship Yahweh. Okay, but keep this in mind too. The Gentiles are working on making a third temple. The Gentile fake Jewish people, they're working on making a third temple, a false temple where Antichrist will be worshipped at. For the temple will be filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who did what? Who dallied with harlots and had to do with women in the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. Okay. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. That big old holy altar that was never defiled. It was defiled by the Gentiles. They put pork on it. They put all kind of unclean meats on it. Don't get, listen, before, when somebody present a barbecue grill to me, my first question is, have you ever cooked on that? Did you cook on it before you came into the truth? Okay. Okay. If you did, no, thank you. Because if you cooked on that grill before you came into the truth, you probably had pork chops on it. You might have put some shrimps on the barbie. Yes, I am that bougie. I don't eat off of grills that had pork already previously cooked on them, which also means I'm careful where I eat from too. All right, I understand that, you know, we're rehearsing righteous acts, you know, and there are times, there's been times in this captivity, you know, I might have got me a Jimmy John's, you know, I might have got me you know, I might have got me a hoagie, you know, from a place that had unclean meats also. All right. But, you know, you don't want to be porked out. Ultimately, if you can, don't do it at all. Okay. That's the point. All right. So we see that our holy altar was made into a barbecue grill for them. Okay. Which all type of unclean things was put on it. But here's one of the main kickers that really, really, you know, just caught my attention when I was younger in the truth. Neither was it unlawful for a man to keep the Shabbat days or ancient feast, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So when we're looking at, you know, why did we stop keeping the Shabbat? Well, boom, it starts way back here. It starts way back here. And then the law started being enforced even more in the year 321 AD. All right, 321 AD, during the time frame of the Council of Nicene, it was said that, you know, anyone keeping the Shabbat, the Jews' Shabbat, would have their heads cut off and their houses pulled down on top of them. Okay, so that's why we stopped keeping the Shabbat. So if we see that this goes back to this, why wouldn't I want to keep the Shabbat? I don't understand Negroes who say you can't keep the Sabbath because we're in captivity. You lying. That's a lie. You can keep the Shabbat. You got to care enough to do it. You got to remember what was taken away from you, and you got to fight to get yours back. Fight within you first to say, no, I'm not going to do this. Fight within you first, okay? It was unlawful for a man to keep the Shabbat days or ancient feast, or to do what? To profess himself at all to be a Jew. To profess himself at all to be a Jew. It was illegal. So today we call ourselves Yasharala. I am an Israelite. I am a Hebrew, okay? If somebody asks me, what's your religion? I don't say I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I don't say that. Because as soon as they Google Hebrew Israelite, I remember when the Most High brought me into the truth, you couldn't Google Hebrew Israelite. When the Most High brought me into the truth, you couldn't Google Paleo Hebrew and a bunch of stuff popped up. How do I know? Because I tried it. I tried to look it up and it wasn't there. And then I slowly watched the progression of new brews coming into the truth and the information being put out there more and seeing it like, oh man, it's Paleo Hebrew websites now. You can read the Bible in King James on Paleo Hebrew now. But when the Most High woke me up back then, you couldn't. you know? So when you type in Hebrew Israelite, you'll get all the stuff that pop up. When somebody asks me what is my religion, what do I claim, this is what I say. Anya Yasha Allah, Banya Yasha Allah. Anya. You can say Inya if you choose to. Anya Yasha Allah, I Yasha Allah. Banya, son of Yasha Allah. Banya Yasha Allah. Son me of Israel. Anya Yasha Allah, Banya Yasha Allah. I'm an Israelite, son of Israel. All right. So now I profess myself to be a Jew. I profess myself to be an Israelite. I just say it in our native tongue, okay, which has a lot more meaning, okay? So as we read down throughout Psalm chapter 6, which I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, not at this time, but I will read it for you, all right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip down to verse 12. No. Verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles would be put to death. So we're not keeping Thanksgiving, and none of you Negroes should be doing Christmas coming up either. And the reason being is Saturnalia, so-called Christmas, is a totally abominable day to where our forefathers and our foremothers were raped and murdered. All right, Christmas is called Saturnalia. It's called the Feast of Bacchus. We go from one horrible holiday, Thanksgiving, to the next, so-called Christmas, and then we go into so-called New Year's, which is the worship of Janus. Okay, so we go from Thanksgiving to Saturnalia to the Feast of Janus. Okay, so this isn't a time frame for us to get comfortable. Okay, because we have to remember our antiquities. This is the time frame where we were murdered brutally, and it was a season of us being murdered. But this all became why? Because we murdered the Most High. All right. I have to make a run. I look forward. I'm going to start back at, I don't know if a lot of you know, but I like to do what's my Yaslakam we call House of Bread. And before I left on this ministry, I would go to the pantries to go and minister, to go and volunteer, to go and receive, alms for my household, but also to give back to the community. So that's what I'm going to do. And I pray that the Most High blesses and keeps all of you, all right, during this time frame. Spend time studying and practicing the scriptures. I gave some really good jewels. Go through 4th Maccabees. If you can't read it, listen to it. Go through 2nd Maccabees. If you can't read it, listen to it. 2nd Maccabees chapter 6 and chapter 7, specifically because you're going to be reading about the time frame while the temple was being destroyed. And I'm going to come back with some extra gifts, an extra scriptural gift, a jewel in the book of Eusebius called Ecclesiastical Histories. Okay, Eusebius Ecclesiastical Histories, to where we're going to learn about abominations and atrocities that happened, which is why we want to dedicate ourselves back to the Most High, which is why we can't wait which is why we're anticipating this next temple to be built by the hands of the Most High and be dedicated to him. All right, because there's going to be no more war. There's going to be no more stress, sorrow, strife. There's going to be no more grief. Okay. Everything's going to be put back in place. But let's see this real quick. All right. And then I'm going to have to get up out of here. All right. So, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present ministry. For there were two women brought who had circumcised their children. So we know this is a law for us to circumcise our children on the 8th day. But because they kept this one law with their babies, something small which seems insignificant, what does it benefit the Gentiles that we believe in cutting the foreskin off of our penises to be in a covenant of our father Abraham? All right, which I still believe in circumcision. I still teach circumcision. You're not about to convince me that Paul taught us to not be circumcised, because he didn't. He taught the Gentiles, which were the other nations. And no, you're not going to convince me that Gentiles was only talking about the northern kingdom. I think you're small for that. I think your understanding is very small for that, because you obviously just haven't read through the entire book of Acts, or Acts chapter 15 specifically, where it tells you it's talking about the Gentiles. Okay, so step your spiritual game up. It's not just talking about the Gentiles and northern kingdom only. It's talking about the physical Gentiles that followed us. Even the physical Gentiles followed Christ. All right. So yes, they were there. Paul taught them that they didn't have to be circumcised. Okay. So with that being said, who they had openly led around. Let's start again, verse 10. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led around about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them headlong from the wall. This is one of the atrocities that happened during the time frame of dedication. So know what it is you're celebrating. Know why you're celebrating it. Look at this. And others had ran together into caves nearby to keep the Shabbat day secretly. I wonder if they kindled fires during this time frame on a Shabbat, or if they were just huddled up freezing. I wonder if they kindled fires during this time frame, or if they pre-kindled the fires. I don't know. It's up for question, I guess. So it's up for investigation. And others that had ran together into caves nearby to keep the Shabbat day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together because they made a conscience. They made a concise. Is that conscious or concise? I'm going to say concise. To help themselves for honor of the most sacred day. So we were burnt alive for keeping the Shabbat during this time frame. And now you got Negroes that's like, we in captivity. We got to work, whatever. I'm going to work on the Sabbath. So starting from where we started from, which was verse 9. When you get to verse 12, 2 Maccabees chapter 6, starting at verse 12, all the way through 2 Maccabees chapter 7. Remember, 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 12 through chapter 7. All right. That's where you're going to get into the grievous, horrible abominations that were physically done to us, even more so. It starts back at 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. All right. But when you get to 12, you start to learn about Eleazar and how he was murdered. All right. And not only how he was murdered, all right, he was a principal scribe, as the scripture says. He was an elder man, all right, an aged man, well-favored conscience, all right, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he rather chose to die gloriously. This is why when you get to here, you want to go to, and I think this is beautiful because I don't want to be the one who's like, yeah, I know, and you got to just hear the word from me. No, I want to show you how to get it for yourself. This is where you go to the book of 4th Maccabees, all right? So this is where you go to 4th Maccabees, and from 4th Maccabees, I sent the link already. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shemar Latah, Mina, Shalom. So this is where you go to 4th Maccabees and the links that were sent, all right, so you can start to listen to and hear the history of the abominations and the atrocities that was done, that was performed by the hands of the Gentiles to your nationality. Okay, so you're keeping the Feast of Dedication. Hallelujah, great job. Understand why you're keeping the Feast of Dedication. Understand what was done to us, done to our people. And then we'll end it off with Eusebius, and we'll learn that all of these things happen because we forsook Yahweh, okay? I think this is a good time, a good place to end this video off at. All right, and again, we started off today with Psalms chapter 30, which is a song of prayer, a psalm of dedication. So I'm gonna try to make this video short. Where we at? We're at, okay, it's a good time frame. Let me do one more thing, okay? I'm gonna do screen share. Barakatah, bless you, baby. Barakatah. Now, this is a very good link also. All right, this can help you to keep up with the lunar phases because I don't teach that waxing crescent is new moon. It's not. So this is the phase that we're currently in, which is called, look, waning crescent. Waning crescent. We're at 20% illumination. Okay. Now watch this. Tomorrow will be waning crescent again, 11% illumination. After that, it's going to be waning crescent again, 5% illumination. But do you see how the waning crescent is getting smaller and smaller? Okay, let me go back to today. Okay, you see how the waning crescent is big? Now it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh man, what just happened? Oh, I think I don't know, maybe I clicked on something else. All right, so the waning crest is going to get smaller and smaller. See that smaller until finally you get the stage right here, which is known all throughout history as new moon. Okay, it's known as new moon. I don't know what's going on. Why does it keep doing that? I think I'm just gonna go ahead in this video. I don't want the laptop to shut off. All right. And let me see if I can just click on it. No. All right. Well, y'all can see it